And good evening, everyone. I am live. Welcome into my live Pacers post-game show. I go live after every single Pacers playoff game, and now they are just one win away from the NBA Finals for the first time since 2000. It'd be for the first time in 25 years if they can get it done. They'll have up to 3 chances to do so. I don't see any way they don't, right? This is a team that has been very good coming off losses, but they're coming off a win. So still, they'll have a chance to do it at home if needed in a game 6. I'm not sure it will be needed. I think we've seen all series long that the Pacers are a better team. They are a deeper team. They are a tougher team, and they're a team that embraces each other and their identity probably more than anyone going right now. And that's what has made this group special. You got to start with Tyrese Haliburton, a masterful performance from him in game 5 and delivering a memory for himself, for his dad being back in the game, which I'll touch on. For he's a gigantic WWE fan, and right there courtside at the table where it's normally occupied by the Pacers broadcast team, CD, Quinn Buckner, was Pat McAfee and his wife, Triple H from WWE, and Nick Khan, a former super agent who now runs WWE. You saw him dap up at the end of the game with a man there, black shirt. That's Triple H. I'm not a wrestling fan, but because of Pat, because of Tyrese, I've had to follow it here over the last couple of years. So I know all of that. But just a spectacular game in all facets from Tyrese. You can talk about his points. You can talk about his threes. He made as many threes as the Pacers did in game 3, by the way, 5. You can talk about the assists, 15, one of his best assist games this entire postseason. But what stands out to me are the 2 other categories. First of all, turnovers, 0. We're used to that. Second of all, steals, 4 of them. This is a team in the Knicks that turn it over highly and a great deal, and they did, especially there in that second half. 17 in total, 4 steals for Tyrese, which ultimately led the team. No one else had more than 2. And so he had 4 steals to 0 turnovers with 15 assists. Oh, and by the way, he grabbed 12 rebounds. I'm not sure what else you could have asked from Tyrese in this game. Oh, wait, let me add one more. How about field goal attempts? How many of us, myself included, have said, Ty, you got to shoot more than 8 times. You have to shoot more than 12 times. Can you get to that 15 number? He said, I'll do you one better. 23 field goal attempts in this one. He made 11. He even got to the foul line 6 times, made 5 of them. The team made their first 14 free throws. He missed the only one there that broke that up. But I mean, I don't think there's anything you can ask more of Tyrese from this game, right? I just nailed all the different things. 0 criticism. So I thought that was just a phenomenal job by him. Next, I got to go to Pascal Siakam, the most quiet star on a team that you might see. 30 points for him in this one. Guess what? He too followed Tyrese his script and got to the foul line. Attempted 6, made 5. He also attempted more than 20 shots. 21, made 11 of them. I think what's interesting in this one is the team's 2 stars. Haliburton, Siakam combined for 44 of their 88 shots. They took exactly half of the amount of shots that the Pacers took tonight. It's one of those where if you lose, you want to go out with your stars shooting, your stars playing well, your stars getting after it. And that's exactly what they did, but they don't need to come up short because this team has it all. The other thing I need to get to, Aaron Nesmith. My goodness, he tweaked that ankle badly in game 3. Rolled that right ankle to the outside. It looked like a bad sprain, one that might keep you out. Not horrible, but might keep you out for a couple games. It might keep you out for a week. Not him. No, I'm told he got extensive treatment, multiple treatments over each of the last 2 days. He got through it very well. Took it seriously. That's important. Then showed up to the arena, looked good. Clearly passed the team comfort with them with their walkthrough, which is, I think it was at 4:30 today. And I thought it was very interesting too. The Pacers not only knew he was available, but told all of us announced it at 5:40 p.m. I appreciated it, to be clear. You just don't see that very often. To me, it was them putting their cards on the table saying, hey, we're good to go. We know we're a better team. We're going to play like it. We don't care about this gamesmanship. We're going to have Aaron available, and we don't care that you know it too, because at 5:40 they put out an alert to let us all know. And normally, man, you get down to game time decision. And is he in the starting lineup? Okay, he is. Now, how will he look? They didn't even mess around with that, which also told me how well Aaron had to be feeling as well, which tracked everything that I had heard to that point. What a win by them, 130-121. Certainly the style of play. The pace was fantastic. I think they had a 17-2 point advantage at halftime with points in transition. They finished the game with a 22-9 advantage there. They forced 17 turnovers, scored 20 points off of that. Did a great job of not turning it over too much themselves. There was that stint in the fourth quarter, I think it was, maybe their first 3 possessions, which were awful. And you know what they did? They went back to Haliburton, brought him back in the game. They scored right away. We did see later that the Knicks got to within 6, 120-114 with 3:06 to play. Rick Carlisle used a timeout as a use it or lose it. The only thing that didn't make sense about it was there was Tyrese had the ball there on the right arc, and he had just gotten Karl-Anthony Towns on him on a switch. So you normally would like to attack that switch, but ultimately I don't mind that timeout at all because most guys were a little tired. Guys were standing around, and at that point, you need to set the tone for the rest of the game, not just that one possession. So it was a monstrous first quarter, by the way. I can't skip over that. 43 first quarter points. Remember, they scored 42 points, one fewer in the entire second half of their Game 3 loss, a game they led by 16 in the second half, by as many as 20 in the game, and they came out firing. Now, the defense needed work early on, but to play at that rate, to play at that pace, to have the ball flowing like it did, they made 6 of their first 7 threes. They only made 5 threes all of last game. Those were the encouraging signs for this Pacers team. Wow, I've already gone about 7 minutes here. Let's get right to it. Some of your questions before, because I have a lot more that I can get into. So I appreciate everyone joining me here live on YouTube. If you missed it, I'm posting it, as always, on my Fieldhouse Files podcast. Jency, appreciate you saying hello. Yep, just 5 more wins if the Pacers want to get it done. Now, the focus right now is on one more, because they're up 3-1. You just need to get that one more. For the team, they can't look that far. Fans can, absolutely. I get it. But players cannot. They came into this series focusing on, let's win this 13-day challenge. Because if it went to 7 games, it was 13-day total. Those are the little objectives. Those are the little things that you hear players and coaches talk about when it's process oriented. It's not about the destination. It's being about the process and about the journey, but taking it one day at a time. Certainly cliche, but in this instance, you got to have narrow focus, especially when there's a lot more attention on it. And a lot more people are hitting you up for tickets, and a lot more people are tweeting you positive and negative things. You got to stay even keel. And I think that's one of the many ways that Siakam has been so good for this team in like the 15 months that he has been part of it. Funny stat line in the fourth. Oh, you're talking WNBA. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, incredible stat line by Tyrese. I'll read it again. 32 points, 12 rebounds, 15 assists, 4 steals, 0 turnovers, and he did it in a game high. Not a game high, team high 38 minutes. Just a masterful job. I think that's the best way to say it about Tyrese Haliburton and the job he did. Can we, again, I've mentioned this before, but if this didn't put the overrated comment to bed, I already did. It's buried. It's dead. This is the new Tyrese. It's really the same Tyrese, just new and improved and healthy, something we did not see at this point last season. Remember, it was at this point last season that he was sitting out. Missed game 3, missed game 4 of the conference finals against the Celtics, and they were swept. Now they're going to the game 5. This is longer than the Pacers have ever gone in the postseason, and Tyrese is still right there able to play. Ryan, imagine someone telling someone when the Pacers were up 10 when the Pacers were 10-15 to start the season that they would be one win away from the finals. Yeah, absolutely. No one would have believed that. They were certainly better than the 10-15, but could you imagine them getting to the finals? No, I know I couldn't. Just being realistic, I thought they would potentially get back to the conference finals, but more realistically, it's the semifinals. I thought they were just another year away from that big outburst. To me, this is their outburst. Last year was putting their toe in the water, getting a feeling out for what the playoffs are like, what these games are like, what the intensity level is like. How do you react to a bad loss and handle a big win when there's 1 day off, 3 days off? So many learning points last season. This year, this is clearly the Pacers' burst onto the NBA national landscape. Was that a thumbs up? Nice. There you go. Rosildo beating the drum from Portugal. 1 million subscribers for this illustrious channel. Let's go. I think we're almost at 20,000 subscribers here. If you're not a subscriber, what are you doing? What are we doing here? Subscribe here and as well at my work at fieldhousefiles.com. Pacers coverage, fever coverage, anything you could want that goes on at the Fieldhouse. I was at the Indianapolis 500 over the weekend as well to cover all of that. Basil, yeah, you're right. Pacers had a bad stretch in the third and fourth with bad shots for sure. Some turnovers, some bad shots, some quick triggers. I didn't like the fact they were settling for threes at a certain point. There was one moment I tweeted the stat where they started 6 of 7 from 3-point land, and then what was it? They were 3 of 17, I think, after that for a bit. Now, the most important part of the game, I thought, was how they handled that halftime. Went into half on a 6-0 run, came out of it, scoring the first 7 points of the third quarter. In total, it was a 13 unanswered points for the Pacers. It grew their lead to double digits. They were only up 5 at halftime, got up by 12. And from there, it really was the Pacers the rest of the way. They did get slightly challenged, as I said, with about 3 minutes left. With 3 minutes left, it became a 6-point game. The teams were kind of trading baskets. Anunoby made a couple. Brunson made some. They went to the free throw line a crap ton there, especially there in the fourth quarter, didn't they? I'm looking it up here. Third quarter, they took 15 free throws. The Knicks made 13. In the fourth quarter, Knicks got there 10 times, made 7. I didn't realize this in real time. Pacers got to the free throw line slightly more in the fourth quarter, going 9 of 12. But in total for the game, Pacers shot it very well, 51%, 41% from three-point range, almost 3 times the number of threes that they had in the last game. Just things were clicking on all cylinders. Yeah, quietest 30-point game in history. Talking about Siakam, absolutely. It's one of those where you remember all the buckets, but you don't feel the totality of his contributions. You really don't, right? 30 points. He had, 5 rebounds as well, and is just such a difference maker for this Indiana Pacers team in so many ways. To me, it starts off the court with his experience, his wisdom, him welcoming the team down to his Orlando home and gym in the offseason to get them ready for the season. Before that, doing it, though, with the rookies and first-year players as well. Just a remarkable human being that picked up the game late as a teenager, was more so a soccer player, and is now one of the stars on this Indiana Pacers team. What is Tony Bradley giving the Pacers that Thomas Bryant isn't? Not exactly the first thing that's on my mind right now, but happy to answer that. I think they're more content with his rebounding ability and his physicality and trying to defend Mitchell Robinson inside. They like that matchup better. And so for those reasons, he's getting the call over him. He played 10 minutes tonight, I think 15 minutes last game. Thomas Bryant, in turn, has not gotten in there. Another player we haven't seen yet this series is Jarris Walker. It would be nice to see him in there, but maybe he's not quite ready is what this tells me from the coaching staff. The other thing it tells me is, look, how much deeper can you go in the rotation? Normally, guys, talking about coaches, trim the rotation down to 7 to 8 guys in the playoffs. I mean, Tibbs really likes 7, but because of the Pacers and the way in which they play, they've really gone to 9. They kind of went to 10 tonight because of Precious Achiuwa making his first appearance in this series, but it was short-lived, just 2 minutes. So they really like what Bradley's been able to do defensively and especially on the glass. So that's why he's on there. Nesmith was such a game changer. He sure was. I'm still marveled by the fact that he was out there and able to play at such a high level that he did. I mean, I don't know about you, but after the first quarter, do you even remember that he has a bum ankle? If it wasn't an important game, if it wasn't the playoffs, he wouldn't be out there. No, you'd sit him for a couple games, get him good through this weekend and see how he was by next Monday, right? But no, full-time treatment and work done that he got on there. He wasn't going to miss time. He's a big-time competitor. And so he was able to play out there, defended nicely. The one thing this team has to do better, and we've said this all season long, got to do a better job of defending without fouling. It was outrageous, the number of free throws. I think there were 72 combined free throws, 52 combined fouls. Now, they were equal, 27 and 27. Oh, that's bad math. That's 54 combined fouls with 27 apiece right there. But still, a little bit too many whistles for my liking. But from the Pacers standpoint, got to cut down on the fouls and defend straight up. Kazono, thanks as always for the great comment. If the Pacers make it to the finals, I'm planning to travel from Japan to Indiana to watch game swings in 3 and 4. Wow, that's incredible. First of all, from joining us from Japan. Second of all, for being a fan from there. And third, for having a trip scheduled. Now, you can get cheap flights. There's a lot of cheap flights. It's certainly from the United States right now to go overseas. I'm intrigued in the offseason if we ever get there. But, yeah, it would be great to see you. It really would. MK Sinks, what's going on? I see you jumped in here. Always good to have you. First half felt so strange. If you didn't look at the score, it felt like the Pacers were up 20, but they were only up 5. Knicks had every opportunity to pounce, but love that the Pacers kept answering. For sure. And to me, that's kind of been the story of this Pacer playoffs is anytime the opponents made a challenge that's climbed back and fought back, the Pacers seemingly have just had an answer there. Now, they haven't necessarily always held on, but it's a resilient group. It's a feisty group. It's a competitive group. And I think that's shining through. You're right. It was only a 5-point game at halftime. As I said earlier, they moved it to 12 with that 7-0 burst and out of the locker room. Ultimately, a huge stretch right there, a 13-0 run. But, yeah, I thought that, to me, was the game changer. And then what they were able to do after that to hold on. Lucas, wow. Appreciate the support here and the donation to my Fieldhouse files. I appreciate it, my man. Thanks for jumping on here and supporting my work. Very much appreciated. How Pacers respond to losses has been impressive. Haven't lost back-to-back games since March 10th. That sounds right. I don't have it off the top of my head, but it absolutely sounds right. This team, it goes back to what I just said, right, Lucas? This team's been resilient. They don't let multiple things weigh them down. And so they're doing a great job in so many different ways. It's this whole rebuild and start over, the job that Rick Carlisle did, the players that he went after, the players that they drafted, and now some of the execution. The only thing I'll acknowledge, I didn't understand his challenge. Did not like his challenge in this game. Very early on, it didn't add up for me. He lost it. But ultimately, it's him, and he's got a group behind him giving him a thumbs up or thumbs down. So I trust them to have a little bit more understanding of that situation. But to me, I am very rarely using a challenge in the first half. It's got to be a fourth foul on Haliburton, something to that extent, or just totally clear, maybe a 3-pointer and a foul. So it's a 4-point play that was waved off. Otherwise, I have a hard time burning one of those. One game to go. Yep, that's right. For Jules said, I'd like to see them get some rest to prepare for OKC. Yeah, that would be the finals matchup the way it's looking. Both series 3-1 at this point. Here's the thing. We know the NBA Finals Game 1 will start on June 5th. For all likelihood, it looks like it'll be in OKC, so there will be a travel day, probably June 3rd. Some media on June 4th down there in OKC. So, yeah, by knocking it out in Game 5, for example, you'd potentially save yourselves a couple of days. A day of planning for the Knicks and a Game 6, should it be needed, that type of thing. Either way, you're going to travel back home, so you're not making an extra travel. But, yeah, you absolutely want to take care of Game 5, knowing things are very likely for you to get to the finals and you want as much rest as possible, especially guys, say, like Nesmith, after what he's going on. Do the Pacers have any chiropractors on their staff? not officially, but they have 2 full-time massage therapists plus several other part-time that'll come in on a busy practice day, probably right now during the playoffs, so that more than 2 players at a time can get masseuse working on them. Matt, what's up? Thanks for joining me here on the post-game show. Appreciate it. Number 1, Pacers have the best point guard in the league, and 2, the best source of info. Oh, thanks, man. Yep, shout out Fieldhouse Files. There you go. Appreciate the support, Matt. You know I do my best to cover whatever I am, and so since 2012, I've been on the Pacers beat, longest tenured beat writer, and yeah, it kind of feels weird saying that because when I came up, it was Mike Wells, it was Mark Monteith, it was Conrad Brunner, and none of them really are around anymore. Mark Monteith occasionally. He's been fantastic to me. We were teammates at Pacers.com for my first job out of college. But I'm the only one still going on the daily beat, the daily grind, and the game of covering teams, of beat writing has changed so much since that time, starting with just my seat. I sat courtside for the Eastern Conference Finals at the scores table next to Michael Grady, next to Mike Wells during those Eastern Conference Finals runs. I was at the scores table. Now media is up just below the balcony there. All arenas have opened up more courtside seating to sell to fans, which you can kind of understand. Doesn't mean you don't like it, though. What else? Alex, what's up, Scott? Love the post-game shows very much. Biggest question I have here, the Knicks offense is so much better without Brunson. No one touches the ball when he's on the floor. Well, that's not a question, first of all, but I get what you're getting at. And that's one of the biggest questions overall right now is you have 2 stars, especially on this Knicks team. How do you balance touches, lineups, and such? Because we have seen in this series alone, Brunson's best getting to the foul line like he did tonight 12 times, made 11 of them, made more free throws than he did field goals, finished with the team high 31 points. But as we saw in game 1, as we saw in game 3, when he was in foul trouble, when he was on the bench and Towns was able to take over, that's when the Knicks made a run. That's when they went on like a 16-1 run in game 1 and maybe a 17-2 run in game 3. Here's the other big question now, Alex, though, is how is the health of Towns? This is the second game in a row where he was holding that left knee. He did it very early in the game and then again late when he had that collision knee-to-knee with Nesmith. And so what is the health status of him going into game 5? Obviously something I'll be watching. He finished with 24 and 12 in this one, made about half his shots. But yeah, that's the great debate and the analytic part that the Knicks have to be having inside their organization right now is obviously they're both going to start, no doubt about that. But how do we balance out the minutes so that we can be most productive with our lineups out on the floor? Kent, we in Texas love your content for both teams. Go Pacers and Fever. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks for following. Hopefully you're with me at fieldhousefiles.com as well. Nembhard has been struggling the last few games. I won't say last few games. Just tonight offensively is a little off. I mean, 1 for 9, that's tough. But just 1 turnover, 3 assists. The shots just weren't there. What I probably attribute that to most without really looking at his shots on synergy and really breaking it down is he's taken on a big defensive load. Not just this series, but this whole playoffs. That's why Nesmith turning in 16 points on a bad ankle and him taking on a big defensive assignment as well, especially though with Brunson. I think he just looks a little bit tired and off. But I don't think it's been more than a game. Flamekeepers, Pacers finals bound, finish New York quickly. Yeah, there you go. Kimono, love that block by Turner on Towns. Outstanding stuff. Yeah, that was a late one. There was also one, if I remember right, earlier in the game, maybe third quarter, where he got the initial block, but then I think it was Towns got the rebound and laid it back up. But I think he had 3 blocks before fouling out. Yeah, 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 blocks for Miles in this one before he fouled out of the game. He was solid, definitely. A lot of players played well. I haven't even touched on Mathurin, have I? Not one person has brought up Matherin, surprisingly. Kevin says incredible game from Haliburton, but the big key came out of rebounding. Obviously, helps clean the glass, but the ability to turn it into quick offense is the tone setter. Yeah, it's like you read my at the buzzer column. I mentioned pace is everything for this team. And so in this series against a slower, more methodical Knicks team, they got to set the tone early with their pace. And as an individual, Pascal Siakam's the tone setter for this group, both in his message in the locker room and I think with his steadiness there out on the floor. But that's why it was so huge for them to have 17 points? No, sorry, 12 points in transition in the first quarter, a 12-2 advantage right there. That led to their big 43-point outburst in the first quarter, and then they kept it rolling from there. But so much of the pace and such is dependent on what they do defensively. Now, they didn't play great defensively in the first quarter, gave up a 35-point quarter, and the Knicks shot 57%. Both teams were performing highly in that first quarter. Candy, I love your Fever coverage. Appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on. Obviously, I know a lot of you fans are disappointed that you won't see Caitlin Clark for the foreseeable future. At least 2 weeks, probably a little bit more than that, as they want to manage and contain this left quad strain that she is dealing with. Richard, I'm still not confident that they can pull this out. Brunson is unbelievable. My question to you is, why can't they? Because to me, they've been the dominant team in the series. They've been the better team in the series. They've been mostly overwhelming the Knicks at most points. Now, not got to do a better job of defend without fouling, not send the Knicks to the free throw line as often. You're going to have down shooting games like they had in game 3. But today is a more typical game. 40% shooting, got off to a hot start, and finished just okay. 13 of 32, you'll take a 40% three-point shooting night. Absolutely. Knicks were better at 43%, even though it really didn't feel that way, did it? I didn't think so. Chillin', I feel like he does the challenge so early so players don't rely on it. Really cool seeing the older players there. Nah, I can't imagine that's it. You're not burning it to make a point or anything like that. He's going to use a challenge because he truly believes that they were wronged and then they can get it right. Now, as for your second point, a very good one. One I haven't had time to get into, and that's the number of older former players there. Just a remarkable job by the Pacers. Tomorrow I'm going to work on maybe a story for that, because it was one of the biggest things that stood out to me about this game, because the Pacers normally don't get that type of showing. They don't normally get that number of alumni in the crowd. Along with that, I mean, there was 50 Cent, Rob 49, who did the Haliburton song, Jelly Roll, who's one of my favorite artists right now, in addition to the New York people, who I'm sure they didn't have a hand in getting there. Chalamet and Ben Stiller and obviously Spike Lee. I thought the Pacers matched, if not exceeded, what the Knicks do from a celebrity roast standpoint, at least when it comes to former players. I can't tell you the last time I've seen Danny Granger in a basketball game. I remember he's done some commentary. I think he did college for CBS, much like that Darren Collison and Roy Hibbert have done. I don't remember seeing Granger talk much hoops. And I texted him probably 5 years ago at least, trying to do an interview, and he wasn't interested, and that's fine. He'd really kind of gone off the map. I don't see him on social media. I'm surprised the Pacers still have his number, but there were more than a dozen former Pacers there. Many of them left over from game 3, which is awesome. They spent several days here, which makes me wonder, did they spend, yesterday or today at the practice facility as well, checking out the fruits of their labor in the past, right? That incredible $50 million practice facility, the Ascension St. Vincent Center. But to see George Hill giving a big high five to Haliburton during the game after a steal, after the game, Antonio Davis, Dale Davis, Rick Smits, Derek McKee, the list goes on and on. The only guy I'd like to see back is Mark Jackson again. I know he was there recently. I forget which game it is, but it'd be fun to see him there, especially with Reggie Miller on the call. Joshua, appreciate the love there. Oh, you're asking Fever. Why is Caitlin no longer the favorite to win MVP? Missing games take you out the running for sure. Not out of the running, but you got to wonder, will it linger? You got to wonder how much of an impact will it have? Will it keep her out a month? They only said at least 2 weeks. Maybe it keeps you out a month. And again, it's a direct reflection of where the money's pouring into. So a lot of bettors see it and say, oh, I like the chances now for Nafisa Collier, for example, to get it. I don't care about the odds. I really don't. That's all about gambling and such. If she shows out and plays 30 games and takes this team to new heights, she can still get MVP. Don't you worry about that one. I appreciate the money, though, in the comment and the contribution to keep Fieldhouse Files rolling. Mr. Compton asks, what do I like better? Market Square Arena, Conseco Fieldhouse, Bankers Life Fieldhouse, Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I feel like Market Square Arena is very much Indiana. MSA. It was incredibly loud from what I remember, just like the old RCA Dome was compared to Lucas Oil Stadium. So my number one pick would be Market Square Arena. And then of the Fieldhouse, to me, it's Conseco Fieldhouse because that's the first name. That's what we always remember. That's what it opened with. That's why it's so hard to rename anything because so many of us call its original name, right? I'm thinking Deer Creek. For those that aren't from here, it's the main music venue here, one of the top grossing, ticket selling music venues, amphitheaters in the country. Now I think it's Ruoff Music Center. Nobody I know calls it that. It's gone through so many different names. Verizon Wireless Music Center, Clips Music Center. I feel like I'm forgetting a couple, but that's kind of where I stand there. What about you? Let me know. Correction, America's team. Oh, yeah, and talking about the Fever and Caitlin Clark. Yes, absolutely. It's definitely like an America's team. I can tell you that firsthand from the interest level. I mean, there's probably people on this live overseas for a Pacers postgame show because they want to hear some Caitlin Clark talk. I guarantee you that. It's just truly remarkable. Basil Sir Charles is correct. When it does get slow, they need to look for Siakam more than they do. We've all been saying that ever since he got here. I don't think this team looks for him enough. And other side of it is Siakam does not demand the ball nearly enough. And so it goes both ways. We've all been saying that for quite a while, though, no doubt. Brunson is one of those overrated guys. If he played for the Hornets, nobody would know his name. No, you're totally wrong there. Jalen Brunson's a star in this league. He absolutely is. He was going to stay potentially in Dallas. Well, guess what? Dallas, who knows what they would have done? I'm not even going to pretend to know. But think if it was Luka, Kyrie. I guess you wouldn't have got Kyrie if you had Jalen Brunson. But I really liked how that team was set up and when Mark Cuban was the owner. No, he is not just another guy that is starring because the team needs it. I can't agree with that one. Code Gems, what is it? Over 80% of teams hate over 80% of teams when they go up. Oh, you're asking. I think 96% of teams, I think it is, win the series when they go up 3-1. I believe it's 96%. It was like 280 something and 13. Are the Knicks good enough to defy the odds? I don't think they are, both given health, depth, and would have to come back to Indy to win one as well. So, no, I do not see it. Michael, the Pacer fans were great during the TNT postgame show. The little I heard, you're absolutely right. Constant chants. They filled the entry pavilion there at the field house. They were loud. They represented the team well. Nothing nasty. Some New York sucks chants. I'm good with that. That's all in good fun. Same thing for the Jalen Brunson at the free throw line. I don't think he was flopping, but I can see fans wanting to chant that. So there was he's a flopper and flopper chants. But yeah, great job by fans here in Indianapolis to show up, show out, and provide that support that the team needs. 17,274 is the number, and clearly a dominant number. A strong majority of those were Pacer fans. CG or Sky tickets really crashing after Clark's injury, or is it fake? Yes, they are. Same thing with the Mystics coming up tomorrow. I saw tickets available for $13, whereas when they moved venues, the get-in price was over $400. So no, that's very much a real thing. I haven't looked personally here in the last couple hours what the tickets are like, but I've had other media people and some ticket sites send me some data, and they're like, "Hey, it's gone south quickly." Mark Jackson's a Knickerbocker, though. Well, so is Al Harrington. Get Hal Harrington. It's the best of both worlds. It's hilarious. He was at the first two games, and wearing Knicks stuff and celebrated. Welcome back, former Nick Al Harrington. And then he's been in Indianapolis for the last 2 games. Hey, everybody, welcome back, Al Harrington in games 3 and 4. That's hilarious to me. There's so much overlap with these players, it's going to happen. But I know he's from New York, but I think of his time mostly with the Pacers and with alongside Reggie. I'd like to see Jonathan Bender, David West, Jamal Tinsley. The first 2 are phenomenal options. I don't know how Jamal Tinsley would go over here. I don't. Then again, Steven Jackson came back and went over well. Tinsley's a guy I have not heard from or talked about in quite a while. I saw Brad Miller messing around with Shaq like the good old days. I did see him at game 3. You're right. Some photos from there. I'm surprised the Pacers, maybe he wasn't there with the Pacers officially, but he was not recognized on the video board in game 3 or game 4. You're correct. I'm in Canada. There you go, CG. Yeah, there's a lot of people from out of the country that follow my feed primarily for Fever, even more primarily for Caitlin Clark updates. But I do a lot more than that. I started working for the Fever back in 2003. I've covered them since graduation in 2012. At the same time, I've also been on the Pacers beat since then. Pacers went to the NBA Finals in 2000 at Conseco Fieldhouse. Have fond memories of that name. Yeah, that's a good point, too. The best games in franchise history, talking about the most meaningful, rather, have been at Conseco. And the Fieldhouse is still around and looks just as good as it did at the very beginning. That's a job well done by the managerial staff, executives, but also those boots on the ground that are cleaning it, working on it, and doing all those fine things to make sure it is still running smoothly. Yeah, Mr. Compton, I don't know too much about that, so I'm not going to touch on it. I have nothing to add, but I did read a news story about that, talking about a fan that something happened up in Carmel. David Harrison still attend games? He does occasionally. Yeah. The surprising thing is normally I see him at the Indianapolis 500 and occasionally at Pacer games. Have not recently or at the 500 over the last couple of years, but I believe he's still around. So is Scott Pollard, Eddie Gill, obviously. There's a handful, probably a half dozen Pacers that still live around here. Hello from San Antonio, Kent says. Appreciate that. Good stuff. I loved watching Jackson and Reggie hoop it up. Man, that team was good. They just ran into MJ and the Bulls. Absolutely. Just like Paul George, David West, George Hill, they ran in to LeBron James. LeBron's in the other conference. He's 41 now and doesn't have a great team around him, although Luka's made it better for the long run. Yeah, that's a big reason why they're rolling right now. So it's fascinating. Leslie's from Canada too. Hey, hello, man. Good to see you. Oh, Punky says, we appreciate your coverage of the Fever team. Thanks for what you do. I appreciate it. You are welcome. Love how many Fever fans are just on here, even though it's a Pacers discussion, just because. Because why not? Makes me think I need to do a Fever live, don't I, here coming up. Maybe we'll do one tomorrow talking about Caitlin Clark's injury and all the things that you need to know and plan for regarding this. But tonight it's Pacers, 130, 121. They get it done with an incredible balance, 32 points and a long stat line there from Tyrese Haliburton, 30 points from Pascal Siakam, 20 points from Ben Mathurin. And how about this note? I was tipped off that Mathurin, you know what he did after the game? After his best career playoff game, small sample size, he was back in the gym at the practice facility. He's the most competitive guy player I cover. On the women's side, it's easily Caitlin Clark. But Mathurin wants nothing more than to be better. And while he played well, he didn't play perfect. And so he's already in the gym getting shots up. He went 10 of 11 at the free throw line. That's one of the biggest areas where he can help change games. The free throw line, 10 of his 11 at the foul line, half of his points scored right there. And so, I think he has a bright future with this team. I know a lot of people want to write him off. I saw some other reporter put out, maybe him and Jarris aren't playing, so they should be traded. Hold on. Let's calm the horses down a little bit. The team likes their trajectory. They like their development. They're just 3 and 2 years in, respectively. Take it easy there. They're on value contracts too, by the way. Michael, great ratings for the Indy 500. Phenomenal ratings. You're absolutely right. the hard part with TV ratings is the numbers, and how they gather the data continues to change, which means it's all going to increase a little bit. For example, if you go to a movie theater and watch it with 100 people, that number is more relative than previously. That would count as one person. So they've changed how they do it. But yeah, I think the number was 5 million last year, and it went up 40% to like 8 million. I want to say this year. Well done by Fox, and they deserve it. They invested a lot, including bringing stars to the game. Were there any truth to Paul George wanting to come back to the Pacers last summer? No, not that I'm aware of. I think obviously it really didn't make sense, because where are you going to fit him in? And also he's on his way out. His timeline does not match up. But he's a guy that just signed a 5-year max deal, I think it is, with the 76ers. I think that's right. Maybe it was 4 years. And the Clippers will only give him 3 years. I think that's more right. Max deal. Pacers would have had gone far into the luxury tax to make that happen. It just wasn't feasible, and I don't think, no, that wouldn't happen. A lot of crossover on that Venn diagram, Pacers and Fever. I think so. Absolutely. And there's so many things that are similar as well. Both coaches are analytically driven. Both are led by star point guards who probably pass better than they score, and that says something. I can go on, and both are certainly on the rise of what they are doing right now, no doubt. And what is helping them take the next step? It's the veterans that they added to the team. Matherin brought Pacers redemption today. 5 of 8 from the field, 10 of 11 the foul line, 20 points. Yep, very good. I wanted to mention him for sure. Is the practice facility the same building where the games are played? No, Mr. Compton. It's across the street. It's across Delaware Street, but it's different. So when Conseco Fieldhouse was built, there was a small practice court. That was the Pacers practice court. They outgrew that, built this practice facility. It opened in 2017. And now the Fever are going to get a practice facility. They've already broke ground on that. That will open not before next year, but the following year in 2027, about a $78 million project. A lot of inflation, obviously, going into that, but that will be state of the art and the largest practice facility in the WNBA. I don't know how it ranks in the NBA, but probably number one. It's over 108,000 square feet, I believe. But no, it is not. It is a separate facility. It's where they park. They walk underground. There's a tunnel underground, and that's how they get across to the field house and to that locker room. Mr. Khan, do you see Paul George retiring a Pacers sort of like George Hill finished with the Pacers? No, I really don't. I think that era is behind them. I'm not sure where he'd fit in with this group. He didn't do a ton last year. He battled some injuries, but it was also a 76ers team that by their season was a lost cause due to injury with Embiid. And so who knows what they look like. But no, I mean, he's under a max contract for the next several years. Pacers not only can't pay that, they're not going to want to pay that. Even if it was on, who I would think? Here's the one I could consider. Eric Gordon played on a minimum deal last year after playing on a much larger deal previously. I could see him come back home for one more year, maybe two, as a shooter, role player off the bench. Certainly would be able to contribute a lot more than a James Johnson off the bench, for example. But I could see him doing that. I think he would probably have interest in that. I would have liked George Hill to have a role within this team. Obviously, he's done playing, I think, at this point. Pacers aren't interested in him being on the court. Same thing with Lance Stevenson. But I would love to see them bring back George Hill in a capacity, however, whatever he wants. I know really he wants some ownership stake and kind of play a dual role, very much like Dwayne Wade does with the Utah Jazz. I don't foresee the Simons willing to do that. Their old school owner, the longest tenured owner in the league. But that's something I talked with George Hill about years ago. Does Jeff Teague come to Pacer games? He does. Not in official capacity. I think more so for his podcast and just being an Indy resident, also catching up with players on other teams. For a while there, at least a couple of years, he was a scout for the Atlanta Hawks. Speaking of him, I'm thinking I was at the draft combine a couple weeks ago. I think it was a couple weeks ago. Yeah, about May 14th. And sitting there one of the days, 2 seats down from me, we started chatting for a while, was Etuan Moore, former star at East Chicago Central, played for the Bulls, the Magic, and is now currently serving as a scout for the Chicago Bulls. So just a phenomenal job by the Pacers again by bringing back so many former players. Thanks for the comment. I've already secured my flight. Now I'll do my best to get the tickets. There you go. From Japan. That's incredible. That is remarkable. No, George Hill with ownership stake. That's silly. No, I get it, but that's what he would have loved, and a very minor one. Even we don't know what Dwayne Wade has, but he's kind of that ambassador to the team, a player on the executive level. So I can understand wanting it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's certainly something that crossed his mind and something that he looked into. Remember when the Pacers acquired him from Milwaukee, they gave him the option, hey, we can waive you and send you on your way. You still get your money. He said, no, this is my hometown. This is the Pacers. I want to be here, play, and contribute in any way I can. So he did. Again, a phenomenal game by Haliburton, Siakam, Mathurin in particular, but I also want to highlight Nesmith again with that ankle injury, stepping up, playing through it to the point where you don't even remember that he had that ankle injury. Now, going into this game 5, I wonder, will they stick with Mitchell Robinson in that starting lineup? He's playing less minutes. He's just playing with that starting group. Josh Hart played twice as many minutes as Mitchell Robinson did, 36 minutes. He also turned the ball over 5 times. I'm wondering if they'll go back to that Josh Hart lineup. I'm wondering, will they lean into the analytics and try to go with the Brunson or Towns only lineup a little bit more often? Now's the point where the Knicks have their back against the wall, and they're in a tough spot. Now, they are able to go home court, and will really need a big one from their fans as well as they try to claw back in this series. They got to win 3 games in a row to go to the finals. The Pacers need just 1 win to get back for the first time in 25 years. It's only fitting that both teams did it against this team. And so the Pacers, Knicks, the rivalry renewed. It does feel like it's getting there. Although for the 4th straight game, no technicals, no fouls. So I think there's a mutual respect between the teams. When you talk about that, there's not much negativity. There's not a lot of trash talking. Even Ty, after the first game, was saying, yeah, as much as I like Brunson, I also want to kick his butt. And I'm sure it's vice versa there. But just an incredible environment at the Fieldhouse, another sellout crowd. They gave away gold T-shirts. And game 5 coming up Thursday night, Madison Square Garden, 8 p.m. on TNT. Appreciate everyone for joining me here on my live post-game show. If you miss it, you can watch a replay. I suggest at 2 times speed. That's how I listen to everything. You can watch it back on YouTube or tune in on the Fieldhouse Files podcast. My guest tomorrow, I will have a podcast with Fred Katz of The Athletic as we break down the series. I don't mind talking by myself, but I also like having other voices join in, having someone to bounce ideas off of, hearing a different perspective, and you never know what direction it'll take you. So again, thanks for joining me. Thanks to the 2 of you contributing here on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed at fieldhousefiles.com. A lot more Pacers and Fever coverage to come as they improve to 3-1 in this best of 7 series. And I'll talk to you all again soon. Have a great night.